Have you been wondering how to clarify your marketing message and get more clients quickly? On this episode of the PA System, I'm talking with Dan Liu about how to get that clarity and start working with your dream clients. So with that said, I want to welcome you to the show, Dan.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Such a pleasure to have you. And I know you didn't come out of the womb doing this. So tell us a little bit about you and how you got started on this track.
Yeah, so in my past career, I was actually a mechanical engineer and went to school for that. Started working for the government right after I graduated and did that for almost 10 years. And knew early on I actually didn't like it, probably within a year or so, and just kind of got stuck in that job. So.
And what were you doing?
I was doing like mechanical design work. So just sitting at a computer a lot, designing 3D models and doing technical drawings and stuff. So not the most
not super exciting, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And so I knew I wanted to make a shift. I knew I wanted to do something in the business marketing world. I just wasn't sure what. And it took me, like I said, many years to kind of muster the courage to leave that career. And then not only leave the career, but also move across the country. So originally I'm from Pennsylvania in the New Jersey area, and I decided to move across the country to California to San Diego. So making those two shifts at the same time was quite a big
That's two big shifts.
Yeah. So for somebody who's very, risk averse, always taking the safe route and everything, that was a big jump. But internally, I knew I needed to make some sort of move. And so when I got out here.
And how old were you?
At that time, I was 32 or so.
Okay.
31, 32. And so when I got out to San Diego, it was really trying to figure out, okay, business and marketing, very broad. Lots of different things you can do within that space. And so it was really a learning period of trying to figure out, what suited me, what I enjoyed doing, what I was good at, and ultimately what would help me, achieve my goals. And so it was a lot of trial and error, especially within marketing. I was doing a lot of more of the technical kind of work. So mostly with the sales funnels world. So learning and understanding that whole side of online marketing and applying that to, different businesses, and really kind of came to the conclusion that I can do technical work, but I don't necessarily enjoy doing it.
Yeah, sure.
I can build websites and I can write copy here and there, decent, right?
Yeah, sure.
But what I found was I actually enjoy more interaction with people, more of being an advisor and more of like a mentor or coach. And that's kind of what led me to where I am today, and going more down the path of consulting and coaching.
So really, you were just kind of going through this evolutionary phase in your life, which I think is kind of common in your 30s. I think that's kind of the point where you start to go, wait a second, I think there's, more to this whole gig. I got to, check a few more things out. And so you're sort of evolving into this new person. So that's very cool. I love that. And I love that you're open to listening to yourself. It sounds like, a lot of your intuition came into play there of like, wait a minute, so, something doesn't feel right. This isn't really the direction I see my life going. And so sort of claiming that and moving toward that next thing. So that's really powerful. So tell us a little bit about what that journey looked like, for you, like, how did it feel? And then, what kind of brought you to now this coaching?
Yeah. And so for me growing up, I always had pretty low self-esteem, right? Low confidence. And so when I got into the workforce and I started working and realized I didn't like what I was doing, it took me, a while to build up the confidence, because I had to work through a lot of kind of personal issues that, leaving not only a safe, secure job, but also transitioning into a different career, right? Something that you didn't go to school for, you weren't really professionally trained in, right? I didn't go to a 4-year degree for business or marketing, I did so for engineering.
Mm,
And then also,
sure.
kind of fighting just the social norms of, graduating, going to
Absolutely.
school, and going down that 40-year path, which I think is becoming, more obsolete as time goes on. But
Yeah.
again, for somebody who didn't have a lot of confidence to go and try to build it up, um,
Yeah,
to
and in
say,
the face of really a lot of uncertainty.
yeah, I mean, that's the big thing, right? Everybody loves
Right.
to have that security, and to walk away from that,
Absolutely.
was a big deal. And
Mm,
so, internally there was a lot of back and forth, of course, a lot of weighing
right.
options, trying to figure out, okay, what's the worst case scenario if I stay
Pros
down
and
this,
cons.
yeah, if I
Yeah.
stay down this path in the next 5, 10 years, what's life going to be like? How am I going to feel? Am I going to
Yeah.
be proud of myself, or am I going to be filled with more, just regret, and
Exactly. Yeah.
even more
Mhm.
kind of lowering my self-esteem, right? So I had to look at that life, and then I had to paint the alternative. And let's say I do leave the job and I venture off, and what if things don't work out, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
understanding the worst case there. Okay, what's the worst thing that would happen? Okay, I would just find, a different job, and even if it was in the same career or in engineering, then I can do that, right? So I
Sure.
had to
So it's
look at
really like
it.
this leap of faith in yourself
Yeah, for sure.
that, yeah, that you were going to, hopefully enjoy what you were going to do, but that you're going to be able to do it as well as you wanted to. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Well, so with that, I know, and I love that we've got a couple of friends on here with us. We've got Stephanie, and she says, congrats on the
Oh,
successful launch of your book, which we're getting
thank
to
you.
here. And she had no idea you're in Southern Cal, too. So you guys are going to have to connect
Yeah,
sometime.
for sure.
And Brad's on with us as well,
Oh,
best-selling
awesome.
author. Yes, so great to see you guys on. And
Hey,
and
Brad.
and that leads us to what you're actually coaching, what you're actually teaching people now. And I love this because I think there's so many people that are looking for answers around this right now and trying to figure out, how do I really get my message out to the world? So let's talk a little bit about what that looks like, and maybe just give us your top 3 suggestions or tips for how we can best craft our message in a way that it reaches the people that we want it to.
Yeah, so the first step would really be to understand who it is that you want to serve as your customers and clients, right? So
Sure.
not just with your messaging, but that helps with understanding your whole marketing and business strategy. So
Mm-hmm.
how you set up.
So getting that avatar really in place.
Yeah, so it's
Mm-hmm.
it's your even your products and services will be tailored more towards them and what they want or need. Your advertising campaigns, like all these different things, really are based off of who your client avatar is. So
And how do we start to do that? I mean, if we're kind of starting at ground zero, what's the best way to kind of figure out who our avatar is?
well, I think it's, depending on where you are in business, right? It's going to come from, understanding, who do you enjoy working with the most? If you're service based, I think over time, or in the initial stages, you might be working with anybody and everybody, right? Just
Sure.
getting clients wherever you can. But
Yeah.
over time, you're going to figure out, okay, I enjoy working with, these types of people. They have these characteristics, or maybe they work in, this specific industry, or I like
Mm-hmm.
this specific industry. Maybe it's healthcare, or maybe it's fitness.
Sure.
So it's really a lot of, potentially kind of just working with different people and looking at your own interests as well, right? Because if you're,
Love that.
looking at other industries outside of what you do, but you have no interest in it, and you're going to converse with these people, or you're going to interact, or you have
Right.
to create a product or service around it. The thing is, at the end of the day, nobody's forcing us to do anything in our business,
Mm,
right? We get the ultimate freedom to choose, what we want to
yes.
do and who we want to
Exactly.
serve. And I think it can get, easy to just go down a certain path because somebody, tells you go to one way, or you see a hot market and
Sure.
you just want to dive in without
Right.
really thinking about, okay, like what's going to help me, with my own personal fulfillment and goals as well. And it's not,
Love that.
coming from a selfish thing. It's like it's
Right.
business, and it's difficult. So you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up
Yes.
for success as much as possible, and you're not wasting your time working with people you
Absolutely.
don't want to work with, or just doing things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm all about, just always evolving, and finding is to
Love
do
that.
things you enjoy the most, at as much as you can, really.
Yeah, because when you're working, especially if you're starting a business, when you're working around the clock, you want to be doing something you really enjoy, because otherwise at some point you're going to decide maybe this isn't really what you want to do otherwise.
Yeah.
And I want to welcome to the show Christopher Rausch. He's a partner and friend of mine. So he says, freedom is the best. Yes.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, so once you find out kind of, what industry you want to work in, what type of clientele or customers you want to serve, from there, that's going to really dictate, how you clarify your messaging to them. And your products and services as well is really going to depend on that as well, right? So what are you actually selling? And from there, you can really gather, okay, what are the benefits or what are the problems that your potential clients are maybe struggling with? And there's all, different levels. Certain products or services, to some people, it doesn't require much in terms of, tapping into emotional triggers or things like that. For certain products and services, it does require that. So,
and so are some of these things that you talk about in your book as well?
Yeah. So, one of the things I talk in the book is really understanding kind of your client or your customer journey, right? So, what are they moving away from in their life, and what are they moving towards?
Okay.
And inside the book, I give a variety of different kind of, trigger words or buzzwords for health, wealth, and relationship categories, because those are the big three.
Sure.
As well as other ones, just to help you kind of understand, okay, what am I really offering with my products and services? Because typically it's not a certain widget or tool that we're selling. It's typically something kind of deeper than that. But again, it really depends on the product. So if you are just selling physical products, it's not as involved in terms of diving deep as maybe something like a coaching program or a personal development program, where you really have to kind of figure out what is this person really buying, or when they're considering working with me or investing in a program.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of people right now that are doing that, right? I mean, we're seeing a lot of people coming out, as coaches, or maybe they've been consultants for a long time and they're just trying to evolve a little bit from what they've been doing into something that might be more individual based. So how does your book speak to people in that situation? How will they be able to utilize some of that information to help them narrow down who their ideal customer market would be?
Yeah, so the book it's kind of a holistic approach, right? So it's not just about marketing message. I try to share a variety of different things that I think would help with a business and their growth. So a big part of it is understanding your your client avatar. There's a whole section or a whole chapter titled "Know Your Clients," right? So it's really all about understanding who it is you're serving. So the book doesn't really go through and give you exercises of picking who to serve. It's more of once you know who you're serving, and this may help you actually with it. So the book is really more like a workbook. So I wanted to create something that was, more like a tool that people can like write in, not for the ebook version, but for the paperback version.
Sure.
So that if they read a chapter and they get ideas, they can write it right in that chapter, and it can kind of be like their guide or almost like a business and marketing plan for them.
I was going to say, so it sounds like they're forecasting out a little bit, looking at, down the road, kind of bigger picture. Who do I want to be working with ultimately, and how do I get there? Is that essentially, okay.
Yeah, and so the Know Your Clients chapter is really just about understanding. I ask a lot of different questions to help you understand those things, such as the pain points or what their actual desires or their goals are, and different things, so you can really understand who it is that you want to serve. And in that process, you might think or narrow down, like, hey, you know what? Actually, I prefer working with these people, because if I work with these people, that's not the problem I want to solve for them.
Sure.
Right? And so that in itself would help with that process.
Gotcha. So what are some of the other things that you talk about in the book?
Yeah, so I talk about sales funnels. A lot of it's going to be based on, or a majority of online marketing. So how to build out your website, a sales page if you're offering a product online, your whole email campaign. Because I found, a lot of businesses don't even have a proper follow-up sequence, and I feel like so much opportunity is missed just because of that. It's like people know that they need a follow-up sequence, but they don't have one. And
it tends to be one of the last things that people kind of get to, like you're saying. Like, you kind of know in the back of your head, but you may
Yeah.
or may not get to it.
Yeah. And I think they just underestimate the importance
Yeah.
of the follow-up and how big of an impact it has on, your overall growth, and how it helps with not just generating first-time clients or customers, but repeat clients and customers.
Mm.
And what I find, a lot of businesses will have, let's say just on their website, they won't have an easy way to opt in. And then once somebody opts in, they don't follow up. They might send a few emails, and then it's, nothing. And then once in a while, they might send an email that says, "Hey, I'm offering something," right? So it's just like a pitch once in a while, which
Sure.
it's not great if you want to, have a long lasting relationship and you really get the most out of your marketing and your strategy. So on top of that, I also talk about the importance of strategic partnerships in business, as well as referral marketing. Um,
Okay.
a chapter I decided to include really came from COVID and this whole pandemic, and I called it "What's Your Achilles Heel?" And it's really
Mm.
designed to help small businesses think about, what is a weak spot or a vulnerability in your business, or multiple, right? Everybody, or every
Love
business
that.
is going to have
Right.
multiple that they try to, shy away from, because obviously you don't want to think about it. It's not something that's, hey, let's look at all the worst
And
spots in
yet
my
it's necessary and
but, right, but it's
helpful.
necessary. And so, yeah, and so it's like, you don't want to operate in this bubble, and all of a sudden one day something happens, and then you don't have a plan to
Yeah.
address it, even though it could have been, right? And so that whole
Sure.
chapter is really just not trying to get you to think about every possible, let's say worst case scenario, but at least the main ones that could potentially, really impact your business negatively, and at
Sure.
least come up with some sort of game plan on how to address it, so that if it does happen, right, and it might be a very small probability, at least you have some comfort knowing that, all right, if this happens, this is my game plan, and or
Mm.
this is the person that I need to contact to minimize any sort of damage. And so, like I said, it's a holistic kind of approach, trying to really build like a foundational blueprint for small businesses. Um, and
I was
so,
going to say, so it sounds like this goes really well, kind of hand in hand, really, with like creating a business plan. It's like you're laying out parts and pieces of it that are going to potentially either move things forward or prevent them from going in the wrong direction. Is
yeah,
that
yeah, I try to compile a lot of the. So as I mentioned, it was the journey from transitioning. I was trying a lot of different things, as well as learning as much as I possibly could,
sure?
just anything business and marketing related. And it's really a compilation of, what I think are the best overall kind of strategy, or I don't want to say tactics, but activities that a business should focus on, and at least really have when they're starting, so that
Mm.
they're not missing out on opportunities, or they're not focused on the wrong things, which a lot of especially business owners can do, because they're so focused on certain things that's hard for them to see. Oh, like something as simple as, let's say, a referral system or getting referrals. It may seem obvious to some, but again, do they have processes in place where they
Sure.
can systematically ask for referrals? Are they repeatedly asking for referrals, or is it more of a one-off, like, hey, if you know anybody, can you
Right.
tell me? And it's like not very strategic in that
Probably
sense.
not going to get, yeah,
Yeah, it's not going to
as
happen.
many referrals as you have that way.
Yes, it's like we have to understand that everybody today is super busy, and if they're
Yeah.
not, they're really distracted. So it's not really their job to try and help you grow your business. It's your job
Mhm.
as a business owner to really make sure that you have processes or strategies in place to make it easy for them, right? Not in a pushy way
Well,
or anything, but just send them reminders here and there, ask them, in certain ways, and a lot of times it's more like, oh yeah, I totally forgot. I'd love to send people to you. I just didn't think about it, because again,
sure.
it's not their job to help
Yeah.
spread the word about
Right.
your business, right? Even if they had a great experience, right? Even if you offer great, valuable stuff,
Sure.
people would just have other things on their mind. So we have to understand, then that's just across the board, no matter, I'd say, like, who your client is. That's just the general population these days with social media and smartphones and everything. So,
Yeah. Well, and I love that, idea that you can kind of take, especially if you're a new business owner, you can kind of take all these parts and pieces and sort of organize it,
mhm,
which is essentially what you're doing, because a lot of this, if you're new to business, you may not even be familiar with it. And so it's kind of like, yeah, creating this roadmap for yourself with these little, like life preservers along the way is kind of how I view it. So, well, and so with that, I want to be able to give people the opportunity to go and actually find your book because it's now on Amazon, correct?
Correct.
All right. And so they can find it. It's called the Marketing and Business Growth Playbook.
Yep.
All right. And it's currently in ebook form. When will we actually be able to get it in paperback?
So it should be in a week or two. So looking at mid to the end of April. So.
Okay, fantastic. So if they want to get it, they can get the ebook and print it themselves if they want to, or they can just wait until the paperback comes out here another week or so.
So with the ebook comes with a PDF supplemental guide. So I basically took all the questions and everything that I laid out in the book and put it into a fillable PDF guide. So you can have everything in one easy to use document. You can type your answers into it, save it, modify it whenever you want. So try to make it as easy as possible for people. Yeah,
that's great. And if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Just go to danluconsulting.com.
All right. So just check you out on your website. And any social media handles you want to put out there if anyone wants to follow you on social?
So I'm not really active on most of the platforms, but if you want to reach out, you can check me out on Instagram. Also, just Dan Liu Consulting.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time so much. It's been such a pleasure to have you on. I know that, a lot of people are going to get value out of this book. And I'm just excited for you. I mean, I know that this has been like a labor of love for you the last few months. You've put a lot of time and effort into it. And so I just want to congratulate you again on getting this out there to the world and getting your message so people can really start to benefit from it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was an awesome conversation and pleasure.
Absolutely. Such a pleasure. And good night to all of you. Thank you for being here once again and for sharing out. Such a pleasure to be with you. As always, have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.